Good evening. This is the July 6th regular meeting of the Economic Development Commission. In attendance, we have myself, Cheryl Poirier, John Stratton, and Mona Colwell. We do not have a quorum at this time. So I will go over a couple of things, but we'll hold off on voting on approving the minutes. So we will put that off. I want to welcome anyone who is here on the line and in our room. Our item number 3, presentation by Frank Papalardo on the Soundview parking. I have to say, I heard from him this afternoon that he unfortunately is unable to make this evening's meeting and would like to reschedule at a future time. Okay. Let's see what else we can cover. We can talk about our Midsummer Festival activities, and I'm just going to bring up this screen and show you the materials that have been sending to the printer.
Can you all see? Okay.
So I've been working on some materials that we've talked about for the last few months. And I'm going to try to... Okay. And we're going to have these in time for Midsummer Festival. This is a business card size card with Explore Old Lyme. It has a QR code that will send people to our website. And there is space on the back for any one of us to write our name and contact information. It has several uses. One, it's for use when we go out to businesses and we're talking to them about the website or a ribbon cutting or so forth. We have a way of leaving behind our information. Also, the arts organizations earlier in the year mentioned that when they have visitors who would like to learn more about our restaurants or shops, that sort of thing, they'd like to have something small on their desk or countertop that doesn't take up a lot of space that they could hand someone, and they can do the QR code to find a list of restaurants and shops, that sort of thing. So that is one item. Any questions on that?
I think it's a great idea. And it's small, and it's less likely to get chucked away or forgotten because it's small. And it's just a reminder that we're there.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Good.
All right, so that's one thing. Then we have, I'll go with this next. This is something our former chair of the EDC was very interested in having done. This is the layout. See how I can make this all fit. This is the layout for a window sticker for local businesses. So this could go in a grocery store window, front window, or any of the galleries or anything. And it has a white background, not a clear background. And again, it's got the QR code, very simple, learn more about Old Lyme while you're visiting. So that's a window sticker. Those arrive tomorrow, I believe, from the printer. We good with that?
What's the size of that?
It's 4 inches by 4 inches.
I like it. Does it stick from the front or from the back?
From the front. And I'm pretty sure it's, repositionable as well, if I remember right.
Nice.
Double check on that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we've got that for our...
We can even stick those in our car windows.
Sure, yeah. All right, then we've got, this is a postcard. 6 by 9 postcard, if I remember right. Something we found when I worked at the museum in marketing is that people love an art front, something they can put on their fridge or their bulletin board. and not feel like it's advertising. But on the back, you have your message. So this is a picture by someone in town whose last name I don't know how to pronounce, Ian. He has Ian by Landscapes, Spelleth or something like that. That is Rogers Lake. And so I thought maybe we could do a series of these different landscapes. It again is related to our brand, if you will, of enjoying nature in town and the beauty of town, what attracted the artists here. Give you a moment to look at that. So this is a larger option for the galleries, our own town hall, different places to have information for people that perhaps they would hold on and even hang up on a bulletin board or something. And a lot of that verbiage is from our Explore Old Lyme website, same sort of taglines and that sort of thing. Okay. Oh, and then the last one, very simply, is a lawn sign. And that is, find that. And just, this is for our tent. Okay. It was cheaper to get 3 than to get 2. So it's a simple lawn sign with the logo. No QR code or anything, but it's just to help us kind of share who we are.
Virtual presence, right.
Yeah. So those are the 4 marketing pieces that we have so far. And the last piece I hope to work on in the next week or so is a tri-fold pamphlet, which would list our current restaurants and dining. I still have to figure out how to work that or organize that to get it all to fit. But hopefully we'll have that sort of a handout as well. It replaces, if you will, what the Chamber had, that Visit Old Lyme pamphlet, which I just went looking for. I think someone has taken those.
I have a couple more of those at home. I provided a lot of the stuff for those.
Okay, great. Yeah. I have a few. I know they're somewhere.
Like sample copies.
Right. Okay, so those are the business materials, or the marketing materials. And we have this tent, or this space, in the front lawn of the Lyme Art Association, right near the corner where people are doing the crosswalk, which I think is a great spot for us, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I heard from Wendy, who is excused from the meeting tonight, that she has a commitment later in the day and would like as early a shift at the table as possible. So I'd like to have her at the table at 9 a.m. And there's only the 3 of us here, so perhaps what I can do is just have a piece of paper and I'll have a see about signing up. What do you think? Should we have 2 people at the table at a time, or?
Well, it makes the time go more quickly, and it's not going to be a long time anyway. So.
Right, because it will probably each be there for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I think a 2-hour shift is doable. And then if one of the 2 people has to run off to grab a bottled water or something, you've got, the second person there. So,
in your opinion, is it something that could be sort of self-staffed? In other words, if there's no one there for 5 minutes, it's not going to...
I think it's a good idea to keep it staffed. It's kind of a busy...
I think it's a good idea to keep it staffed.
Yeah.
But it doesn't require, it's not going to have computers in the middle of the table or anything like that.
No. Right. Yeah, I don't think we shouldn't have things that are valuable in terms of things people would want to take away that we wouldn't want them to take away. It's a great location. So there is a pamphlet or a brochure of all the offerings that day at Midsummer Festival. So we're a great spot for people
just to walk in
to get that brochure or to ask questions. Mona's going to talk in a moment about being able to answer questions or share information. about other businesses. So, Mona, maybe while you're talking about that, I'll make our little sign-up sheet for the table.
All right. So Cheryl sent me a couple of things, including a list of some businesses and email addresses that she already had put together. And then MJ sent me a file as well of a bunch of businesses. And I was jotting notes at our last meeting of just businesses that I was thinking of off the top of my head. So, and then I went to the Explore Old Lyme website and have tried to complete the list of businesses. Now, it's definitely not fully complete, but we have a lot more businesses in there now, along with the arts. And I've been pulling off like addresses and email addresses and phone numbers, trying to make it so that it's usable, so perhaps we can send something out to the businesses to remind them that the Midsummer Festival is coming up, and an idea that, hello, talk about Midsummer.
Midsummer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, always a nice event.
So we're talking about a database. Remember we talked last month about trying to compile like a database of getting the email addresses, or we've talked about it a couple of times. Mailing list, yeah.
Justin had something like that, and he emailed it to me, so I have to find it.
Oh, okay,
But
great.
there was,
That'd be great, because we're kind of cross-checking, because of course Cheryl what did you do when you created Explore Old Lyme? Did you just have everything on paper?
I would go in, I would just brainstorm, okay, who's in 90 Halls Road, and I would try to think of those businesses, and then go into their websites, and if they didn't have a website, I'd look at their Facebook page, and it was just, time consuming.
Yeah, because sometimes that's what I was doing. I would just be brainstorming businesses. So anyway, so we've got a list now, and there's probably about 130 businesses in there. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But some questions that I thought of was, it starts to get to a place where we don't have on Explore Old Lyme like all of the electricians in town, for example, or all of the plumbers. And so I started to add stuff like, do we need to add this? And then Cheryl and I talked briefly today, and an idea is to have a major list of as many of the businesses that we can think of or find or get to sign up to be a part of our list. And then a subset would be touristy or shopping or restaurants. So those would be more like subsets that we would try to let those businesses know when we have events coming up, like Midsummer, for example, or like the Make Music Festival that just took place. And there's another event that you had mentioned, Cheryl.
Oh, Light Up Old Lyme, which used to be held by the Chamber, which is kind of holiday events.
Yeah, because I think there's no one way that a lot of these companies find out about these events. So when I was reaching out to some of the businesses that we only had Facebook for, and I wanted to get their email address, a business came back to me and said, could we give out their information at our table? It was Hallmarks. Could we give out their information at Midsummer? So I haven't gotten back to them yet, because I just wanted to see what everybody thought about that idea. If people wanted to give out information at our table at Midsummer, is everybody okay with that? What do you think of that idea?
I would say go for it. If people are incensed because they weren't asked, well, they were asked. So.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, John.
No, just to conclude the thought, I appreciate what you've been doing in terms of extracting the known businesses from a database which is not organized and has never been organized, except possibly by the Chamber of Commerce on an ad hoc basis. there are, as we've learned, again, many hundreds of businesses in town, many of which have almost no contact with, quote, the public. But there are those which want contact with the public, and those are the ones I think we want to reach out, shake their hand. So,
okay.
The more the
So
merrier.
I will get back to that business, and as I'm reaching out to the businesses over, there's, any other correspondence that I have with people asking them for their email addresses, because these people who have their businesses just on Facebook don't necessarily have an email address, and some businesses only have a contact form. They do not have an email address.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help us in the grand scheme of things. So those are the ones that I'm reaching out to. But then we can also try to send an email out, like our first run, saying, we're doing this. If you want to give us your info, drop off the information here at Town Hall before midsummer, and then we can display it.
Yeah, I think we're going to have probably a 6-foot table that has a tablecloth and everything. So we should have plenty of room.
We have a little
to
stack of
lay out.
handouts, something
Yeah.
we can have there.
I think that's great. I think it's great that Hallmark wants to have a way to share information. Maybe just to make it easy on yourself, perhaps you could do one email, Mona, but have everyone in the BCC line.
Absolutely.
So you're not sending out email after email.
Or if somebody hits reply.
Right, yeah. And people do like to keep their email address private in some cases. So if you had one email with everyone in the BCC line saying the EDC is having a table at Midsummer, we're happy to share information of old line businesses. Let me just double check with the women who staff the lobby here to see if we can, in fact, have a little box off to the side where they can collect information for us.
Okay.
And I think that's great.
And of course, I wouldn't send anything out before you guys looked at it first.
Okay.
And I did just get from Cheryl today, she had the Chamber's old email file, so I'm going to try to merge the two. And then, John, if you find the one from Justin, that'll be great.
I just sent it.
Great.
Yeah,
Great. Okay.
I'm not big on like Google Docs and all this, but I sent it, so I'm hoping that you'll get a spreadsheet.
Okay.
If not, I'll
That's
get the Excel file and I'll get that to everyone.
And
I was
then-
back from the SWOT study that we had.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
Everything
great.
coming together
Awesome.
on one list.
Because, I mean, there's so many that can just slip through the cracks. If and then there are new ones too that we have to remember, those that still aren't even open, like the one over in the Halls Road Plaza there. The
Poppies.
Okay, so one other thing was just an idea for the day of Midsummer, if we had a QR code for businesses or a form that they could fill out. So if there's anybody who comes to our table and maybe they are already an old line business and for whatever reason we're missing them, or they want to make sure that we have their information, we could have a little QR code at our table linked to a form where they could just put in their info into another database, and then we'll just have another source to merge them all together and just make sure that we capture all of their data. And I can set that up if that's good with everybody.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay?
Good.
That's all I had to share.
Okay, great. Okay, Joe Camian has arrived, so we have 4 of our 9 members, which means we still do not have a quorum. So we will postpone approval of our meeting minutes until the next meeting in August. Does anyone disagree with that consideration?
I think it's a reasonable decision.
Okay.
I'm sorry I was late. I had 200 students, prospective students, come through today.
Okay.
It was a long, long day.
All right. Thank you for being here. Other new or additional business. I have a couple of things. One is there was a special town meeting last evening to vote on the final disbursements of ARPA money, and the Economic Development Commission was approved as part of a larger package to receive $2,700. And if you will remember, that was for our nice tent for the future, and a rack card, and I think some photography. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure those were the things in that proposal, and we will likely have that in our budget in the fall. Also, very quickly, I'm representing Old Lyme in a regional economic plan for RiverCog. And then two businesses, my understanding is that Pappy's is now back on track, getting their new hood, and hope to be open in the near future. And then Homeward on Halls Road, in the old EF Watermelon building, they're hoping to be open in the next 4 or so weeks. And two women are running that business. One of them is the former owner of Grace in Niantic, which was a shop that was well loved, and so it's sort of a lifestyle shop with home goods and that sort of thing. So we welcome both of those businesses to Old Lyme. Any other new or additional business?
Are you going to discuss the ribbon cutting, for example, for the, never can remember its name, a songbird or nightingale?
Carla's?
Yes, Carla's.
Carla's is just getting a few loose ends tied up with Town Hall, and so that will be scheduled once that's done. I have a call into Pappy's Home, I think I'm saying it right, Homeward. They are going to let me know when they're ready to go.
What about the one down at South Lyme? The Grandma's.
They were open last year as well. I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I am going to send out a table for everyone of businesses, and then we could add businesses.
I've got an idea. What if when we send the email reminding people about Midsummer, we could ask them if they want us to hold a grand opening, and they could let us know.
And they can do their, as I said to Carlos the other day, so you're doing a fluffy opening now. It's not even a soft opening. It's open.
Right.
But I mean, I live right nearby, and I go by, and I say, is it open at 7:30? No. I stopped, and I said, it's only open at 8. So what I mean is the outreach, even though maybe they're happy, there's really very little outreach to be left around after the summer's over. Contact.
Okay.
And Long River.
Oh, yeah.
We never had them there.
Well, they were waiting as well. So I think we're going to set up to set up a chart. And perhaps we can reassign some people to follow up. Any other new or additional business?
One, new business item of sorts. This past weekend, for the first time ever, went to the Velvet Mill in Stonington.
Yeah.
You guys have ever been there?
Yeah.
It was a velvet mill that operated from 1888 until somewhere into the 90s, and then went the way of most other similar industries. But what I thought was remarkable, there was a kind of like a memorial wall of the history of the mill, and written on there was a statement that says the Stonington plant was built by the town in 1888 as a means of encouraging development of new industry. So, this idea of economic development has obviously been around for a while. And they talked about how this velvet mill was making velvet fabric, and they were a pretty major supplier. In reality, I did a little homework on it. In reality, they pirated the velvet mill from Astoria, New York, which was in the borough of Queens. So they pirated that out because allegedly there was a malaria epidemic in the city, but that was probably just a good reason to say remove. So they moved to Stonington. It started with 35 people, and by the middle 1900s, they had 450 people working there. So the idea of a deliberate, targeted development is not novel, and it's something that it's got my interest, because there are certain industries that we might be well positioned for. For example, we clearly are a bedroom community to pharmaceutical scientists. We're a community to all the engineers working at EB. So it's got me thinking. So it's just something I wanted to just put out there because I'm trying to figure out, okay, what might we might be able to get support from the state, but we would have to come up with a well-contrived, targeted plan. Because, for example, like right now we're seeing, and I just read today, I'm a member of the American Society for Engineering Education, and some of there's sort of like a daily newsletter that gets published, and there's a lot of content. But there was an article, and they generally repeat articles. So there was an article in Bloomberg that companies are reshoring. That a lot of companies that had offshored to China are now reshoring back to here. And I was quite surprised that in today's work, I ran an introductory laboratory for student candidates for the academy. And I'll be darned, here's a pair of tin snips, and they're made in the USA. And I'm like, I haven't seen that, I can't tell, and they're brand new. And we just bought a quantity of these. And normally, all of the
harbor freights of the world.
Exactly. All of the shop tools are all coming from the likes of that, and it's all made in China or somewhere like that. And I was taken aback. I'm like, this is like heavy metal. This is an old-fashioned hardware type item that we used to make in New Britain, Connecticut.
Stanley Works
kind of stuff. So it's got me thinking.
Okay.
And the question is, what would be appropriate targeted industries, and is that something? Because we certainly have an industrial park that has expansion capability. So,
yeah, it looks. I write on Hatchet Hill a lot, and there's definitely. It's nice. There's more businesses coming in. There were a couple of new ones. I don't think I wrote them down.
Yeah, the Fuchaki has really expanded.
That was the one that my husband was saying.
Yes. And then with a P, Pasqualini Construction, he's doing some kind of an expansion. So there's things happening.
Yeah.
And you think about it. For example, we have Kellogg Marine, which is a pretty substantial, distribution, warehousing and distribution operation. But it's almost like, gee, what other warehousing and distribution entity might we attract if the ready-made space was very reasonably available to them? I'm not saying give it away, but the idea is, make it easy. So I think what happened back in 1888 was Stonington made it easy for this velvet manufacturer to set up shop.
In the presence of declining fisheries and the like.
Well, it was the period when,
shipbuilding was declining.
Much like when I was out in California, Monterey, remember Steinbeck's books?
Yeah. Cannery Row
and all that? They basically overfished the sardine fishery into extinction. We did the same thing here. Here it was all the Manhattan fishery. So anyway, you're right. I think what happened was they must have had a lot of people employed in the fishery trade. They overfished, they wiped it out, they needed something. And I'm wondering if a group of people like us sitting at the Economic Development Commission said, okay, what are we going to do?
And I do notice that the Velvet Mill, which has a ton of shop stores, oddities that are interesting, they promote the site as a unit in addition to having individual businesses make whatever contact.
And very artsy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, just a
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Something I want to kind of mull
Great.
over, and maybe it's something we should consider.
Yeah.
Any public comment? Okay. We don't have a quorum to vote for an adjournment, but I would like to suggest we adjourn.
That sounds like a plan.
Thank you.